Welcome again here to my basement here in Colorado. I'm going to try something a little different, maybe make my face a little bigger, and maybe you can enjoy this video a little bit more. A little scruffy today. Wasn't expecting to need to record today, so I am doing this to keep up. I want to record 2 a week, and I happen to record the same one twice. For whatever reason, I guess there was enough space in there, and my mind had forgotten I had recorded that one, so I need to record a different one. And this is actually a Saturday here. It's cold outside, just above freezing, and that's pretty good Colorado weather for this time of the year. And I'm a little bundled up, got a couple layers on to stay a little warmer down here, but this is a little different angle on my basement, and I think you're going to enjoy this lecture. It won't be as spiritual. I know you come to these lectures, you come to these trainings to learn more about the Bible, and I appreciate that, but you also need to provide for your families. So this is a very practical lecture on specifically farming, but it's also as well small business. If I can do anything that helps you to be able to provide for your family better, to be able to provide within your ministry better, I would like to do that. I would hope that we could pray. Let's do that. I should do that in all of our lectures. And I tend to be one of those studious people that wants to get into the Word. But let's get God involved. Lord God, we just pray that you would bless these farmers, that you would bless these small businessmen, that you would bless these leaders of churches for your glory, and let this lecture be of encouragement. This is a practical lecture explaining business principles for small farmers. That is not wise of me to do, as I am not a farmer and I am not a businessman. But on the other hand, I am willing to try because I believe it will help our pastors who are also small farmers in practical ways to be able to provide for themselves better and to encourage their ministries. This lecture will stretch me, and I think I will gain wisdom, and I hope you will gain wisdom as well. Let me say something, as I am not called to be a farmer, but I would be blessed to help you. A calling to farm is just as godly as a calling to pastor. The priesthood of all believers means that God blesses our job that we do that glorifies Him, and any job can glorify Him. Not every job, but you know what I mean. Hard-working jobs that work the land, that do the things that are productive, can be a blessing. And anything that can be a blessing, God can honor. You can honor God by working hard. Of course, there are jobs out there that don't glorify God that we should not be anywhere near. We are not to be more godly in the pulpit than we are in our jobs, in our homes, or in our community. We are to serve God in whatever we do and in whatever we say. I can't focus on that more in these lectures, because you know I focus on it quite often. Jesus was a very good carpenter. He made things out of wood. This involved the entire process of taking a tree to making a finished product. From an early Christian writer, we know that yokes for oxen were made by Jesus. 100 years after Jesus' life, farmers were bragging that their yokes that had been made by Jesus of Nazareth were still in use and very functional. Jesus made quality things that glorified His Father for many years before He got into the ministry. It is our honor to work hard, not just to provide for our families, but to honor God. Feeding the world around us is a wonderful goal. Being more productive is a worthy goal as well. Let me do something here very quickly. That'll help me out later. While I was traveling recently across the ocean to Africa, I sat next to a young lady from Mexico City who works with small farmers in Kenya. One requirement was that the farmer had 2 cows. Since her job was to help production through fertilization, I can assume that she helps the farmer to do composting to increase production of the land, meaning that the more rich that the soil is, the more production there will be of the products. Of course, you can't over-rich the farm, so you have to stay within reason, and that's what I'm sure she was helping them to understand. But composting would be a good thing for any farmer to be doing, because this would be stuff you're not giving to the pigs, or not feeding to the chickens, or you're not giving to the other livestock, but that can be rotated on a regular basis so that it doesn't catch fire. But composting you can use then seasonally to add to your richness of your soil. I know that's a little bit more work, but in the end it will produce, there would be more production. Meaning that nothing, and I mean nothing, should be thrown away that is natural, as it can be used to make future production. The process of allowing things to decay, to fertilize, is helpful information for a farmer. Information that blesses production is huge. My goal in this lecture is to first encourage you, and second to give you practical advice from an American who knows nothing about farming here or farming there. My assumption is that the average farmer in Africa makes very little income. But if this is your calling, then do your best. One suggestion is to learn what is selling or what is being bought locally. Africa is very productive and can grow crops that are in demand and provide more income. Learn what is needed and fill that need. That is basic business. Why produce what nobody is buying? Change your production to match a more profitable crop. This involves a risk, so be wise in changing over half of the farm or just producing a small amount at first to test the market. Find out what farm products are being exported from your country. What is in demand that will pay to produce? The farmers in Uganda seem to produce the same things. Take a chance and try to produce something demanded in the market, but not produced by most farmers. I would pray that your decisions will lead to more production and desired income. A story I told my friend Joshua while visiting Uganda was of Washington Carver. He had been a slave, but became a great inventor and scientist. He learned that after slavery was outlawed here in America, the slaves were producing huge amounts of peanuts, but no one was buying. The market was saturated with too many peanuts. Washington Carver began to develop a market for the peanuts. He spent his resources to invent new ways to use peanuts. His main invention was peanut butter that caught on with the American public and developed a demand for peanuts. He eventually invented 50 products that used peanuts. I don't want to list all of them for you. It would take me the entire lecture. In America, demand is made for a product by advertising. Show what the product will do. Show that everyone needs your product, and demand is produced for that product. Don't just grow, but think through the process of selling your product. Also remember that raw materials can be used to make a finished product. One of our farmer friends produces eggs. They sell well, but they had many eggs left over, so she is now a baker. She bakes all kinds of breads, and all of that is in higher demand. Her use of these extra eggs produces income. She doesn't have to buy the main ingredient, or one of the main ingredients, so her profit is higher. See if you can bake banana bread with your eggs and your bananas. Think about a finished product that can be sold for a product. I ran across an article on the internet that suggests different uses for land. These may or may not apply to Africa, but may spark an idea that changes you and your family's lives forever. That is my prayer. Tree nursery. A tree nursery can be a great investment when done right. Most farmers start with 10 to 20 seedlings in a small area of land, and with the right marketing strategy, they would have baby trees sold out before they mature. You can buy small trees or raise them from scratch. Spend some time researching how to organically source the trees you want to grow with that compost that I've been telling you about. Fruit trees propagation, for example, can be done by grafting or budding, joining parts with multiple plants. And this increases your chances of producing the same variety of trees as opposed to using seeds themselves. Fish farming. Fish farming is an ideal business idea for investors with available land, and it doesn't always require a body of water. You can start a fish farm either by creating fish ponds or investing in fish tanks. It is highly scalable business idea. Once you have the proper knowledge of fish raising, you will be able to decide the type of fish to raise. Fish should be tilapia, cod, and catfish, and these are very popular choices because they are quite easy to raise and are generally in high demand. Small scale farms are the usual supplies of fish in their local supermarkets and restaurants. Let me tell you something that's a little on the gross side, but could be practical for you. Tilapia is raised under chicken cages so that the chicken droppings, which still has nutrients in it, are eaten by the tilapia fish, and then the tilapia is harvested. That makes tilapia obviously a garbage fish, but catfish, I think, are about the same. So if you were to use this idea, you'd construct your cages over the top of a fish tank, and then the tilapia fish or catfish would grow, and then you would harvest. You would have both. You would have eggs, and you would have droppings that now wouldn't be used as fertilizer, but would be used as food in the tilapia. Moving on. Dual crop farming. Dual crop farming or multiple cropping can be either mixed cropping or intercropping. Mixed cropping refers to raising two or more types of crops in the same area, while intercropping is raising different crops in close proximity. Dual crop farming is very popular among farmers because it optimizes the use of equipment, soil, and water, as well as farming supplies. It also maximizes the production of a small farm all year around. You can use different parts of the farm during different seasons of the year. Dairy farming. Those who wish to go into this type of farming business will also have to learn how to improve milk volume production in order to be successful. Small dairy farming can be a lucrative investment for farmers in rural areas if they can supply the local market demand. As with any business, there are certain risks involved when starting your own farm. Rural farms in particular can be seriously affected by calamities and natural disasters that threaten both the crops and any livestock. A fifth idea is herb gardening. Herbs would be used to flavor salads and other things of that nature. People are now more cautious about what they put in their food and appreciate how these plants contribute to a better dining experience. When starting your own herb garden, make sure to emphasize variety, and choose the ones that are in demand so that they are easy to sell. You can start at herb business with small roadside sales from your backyard, selling herbs you cut, the plants, the seeds, or all three. You can also sell the plants and seeds at other places. And in my lecture that was downloaded, it has the idea online. And I don't know if you have those options there. Number 6, bee farming. Agriculture or bee farming often starts as a hobby, and the capital needed to begin is quite low. You can sell bee products such as beeswax, bee pollen, royal jelly, or of course honey. That's very popular among consumers. Bee pollen and royal jelly are considered superfoods and are sold at a high price. You'd only need a small area or even a backyard. There's many ways to get your first set of beads. You can catch a swarm if you live at a location where bees are often found. You can opt to catch your own swarm for free. You could buy a bee package. A nucleus hive typically consists of a box with 5 frames of bees. This simply means an entire hive is already set up, including an existing colony that large beekeepers sell to beginning sea farmers. Split hives are created when several farmers of an existing colony are moved to a new box where a new queen is introduced. Beginner bee farmers are encouraged to purchase a nucleus hive, and it helps them to learn the basics of beekeeping and nurture its growth. You will also need other equipment such as protective gear, hive tools, a bee brush, and a honey extractor. I know I've seen people do this kind of work without any protection. I wouldn't recommend it, but I think if you're careful around bees and they get to know you, the likelihood of there being any danger would be pretty minimal. Aquaponics is a farming method that combines aquaculture, raising aquatic animals, with hydroponics, cultured plants in water. This means farmers produce crops without requiring as much water or land. It translates to a lower investment cost and more potential for profit, as it's known to produce crops faster and in greater volume. Experts advise beginners to start small and expand as they learn how to maximize their production. Microgreen farms, this would be like the herb farms, are young vegetables or baby plants that are around 10 to 14 days old and 1 to 2 inches tall. They are the small edible vegetables that restaurants use as garnishing for dishes or serve in a salad. You can find that they're in high demand. Customers like their visible appeal and health benefits. Beginner farmers should consider this business because microgreens are easy to grow. Turnaround time is on the high side, and it requires little investment to start. With the right strategy, farming herbs and microgreens for commercial use can be very lucrative for a small amount of investment. Vegetable landscaping. Starting a landscaping business can be expensive, but farmers who want to opt for a greener path should enter this world of edible landscaping. This option creates more flexible opportunities, so your required startup capital will be considerably lower. You will mostly be investing in tools to grow vegetables, either on freshly tilled soil or in containers. When used pots, remember to purchase the ones that are 8 to 12 inches deep. Also space them out evenly so you can maximize your yield. A 10th idea is hydroponic farming. Hydroponics is a process of growing crops with nutrient-rich water kept in contact with the plant's roots instead of using soil. This process significantly reduces the risk of wastage and pollution that can harm the production and cause diseases, making it popular for health-conscious consumers. Like aquaponics, the minimal use of land area needed also makes hydroponics a low-cost investment while increasing the growth rate of plants up to 25% in a well-designed garden. This means you will have to produce products that are available to sell. There are different hydroponic systems farmers can learn and try. Static plants are grown in tubes or plastic buckets. Water can be unadulterated or only generally, and water can be infused with gas. Continuous flow, the nutrient-rich water solution contains flow past the roots so plants can absorb oxygen better. Aeroponic plant roots are only misted with nutrient solutions instead of submerged in liquid. Ebb flow, plants are flooded with water and then drained several times a day. Hydroponics is all about careful management of the environment for your plants. So while it seems like an easy business to try as a beginning farmer, take your time, analyze your options, and learn about hydroponics from experts before you start your own. Rooftop tea garden. In cities, maximized space is important, and this includes being able to balance air quality by creating more space to plant greens. While rooftop gardening are already common in urban areas, there are still a number of ideas that you can try and turn into a business venture, one of which is starting your own rooftop tea garden. You can grow a variety of aromatic and medical herbs and greens to sell directly to customers. Another option is to find a partner to help you start a rustic coffee and tea shop directly on the rooftop. Partners can be those who have access to a rooftop so you can invest less money, or someone who is knowledgeable in starting a coffee shop. Partners can be those who access to the rooftop so they can invest. And more important things to consider before designing your rooftop garden is monitor how much the roof is exposed to the elements. Sun and wind exposure are critical if you want to properly grow your tea garden. Make sure that your plants will get enough sunlight and shade and are protected against strong gusts of wind. It's a good idea to include solutions for these issues in your business plan. Determine your rooftop loading capacity. Rooftops do have a maximum limit to the weight they can hold, so it's important to know and take this data into account when designing your garden. Consult with a structural engineer who can determine this information exactly and keep the building and your business safe. Snail farming can also be applicable for Africa. I don't even culture or snail farming can be very lucrative business venture. Most large snails are edible and can be sold at a high price, but certain types are more preferred than others. It mostly depends on your location, so it's important to learn the basics. This includes identifying the right habitat for the snail you plan to use, knowing their food source, understanding their mating process, and managing their environment. Snails thrive in areas like California where the climate and well-tended soil are suited to their growth, and since they are considered agricultural pests, you can easily ask organic farm owners to let you harvest them, take them out of their farm, and then you would have them, and then you would sell them for food. Some of the things you need to consider when starting a snail farm are climate control. The ideal temperature for growing snails is between 16 to 24 degrees Celsius. I think that's perfect for most of the areas where this lecture will apply. So you should include sprinklers and humidifiers in your equipment. Soil requirements. Snails thrive in well-cultivated soil and groomed gardens because of their nutrient-rich quality. Calcium in soil is important for the snail shell. Soil should also be at least 2 inches deep for egg-laying purposes. Farming system. This refers to having protective snail pens that are either inside a building, plastic tunnel houses, or greenhouses, all of which emphasizes the need for a controlled environment. I need to learn to read, read out loud. Food sources. Snails also drink water and will mostly eat various types of feeds, but they also survive on natural foods such as vegetables like cabbage, flowers, fruits, most green leaves, and microscopic algae. 13th idea is mushroom farming. Mushrooms are relatively easy to cultivate, considering that they can grow in the wild, even in the harshest of conditions. Making a profitable business out of mushroom farming will depend on knowing which mushroom strain to cultivate and how to maximize their production, enough to become a steady supplier to other businesses. Gourmet mushrooms such as oyster and Shiitake are Shiitake are some of the most sought after variations of mushrooms in the market. They can be grown indoors in a controlled environment for a much larger harvest. It only takes an average of 6 weeks to grow and harvest mushrooms that are ready to be sold. 14th idea is organic farming. Generally speaking, organic farming is a method of raising crops and livestock. But thanks to a growing market of health-conscious consumers, this method has created a niche of its own. Nowadays, you'll find restaurants and supermarkets that market specifically for organic products. This business relies on organic farmers to supply them with organic grown fruits and vegetables. I think most of your fruits and vegetables that you are growing, because you don't have the funds to use pesticides and stuff, are organic. Poultry farming you would be familiar with, and I think most of you would have chickens, and hopefully you would be able to increase the number of chickens so that you have more farms. More eggs, and then you would have more chickens to harvest or produce for meat later on. Poultry farming allows you to supply poultry products to other businesses as there is consistent demand for poultry products. It remains an attractive investment option for potential farm owners. Learn as much about the business as possible, including finding the right location and getting ready with all the requirement to get started. Poultry farming is still one of the most popular businesses for farmers who are looking to break into the market and break into farming. Chickens are fairly easy to raise, and they raise quickly, and the egg production is a demand product. Starting a small farming business aimed at supplying a large volume of product to your local market can be costly, but you'll work through that. Flower farm. I found this one interesting. Flower farms are a popular destination for tourists, but apart from that, this type of business is versatile. It can create other avenues for income, such as supplying flower shops and connecting with event organizers for decorations. You can even start a low-cost flower farm in your backyard. Like other businesses, research is key to growing your flower farm. There's a lot of edible flowers, is why I found it interesting. We had a gal in Ripon, California, when I was pastoring there, that made a very tasty flower salad that was very, very good from edible flowers. Just another idea. Fishing is a very popular recreational activity. So if you're a fish farmer, you can start accepting visitors to fish in your ponds or lakes. Extra large fish farms can even host different types of sporting fishing and draw in more crowds. You can charge visitors by day or per pound of fish that they catch. A good marketing strategy to help you boost sales, especially if you charge per pound of fish, is to create an area for barbecuing or a rustic style restaurant where visitors can ask to have their freshly caught fish cooked for them. 18. Animal petting farm. Most farmers can get into the farm business to augment their income from selling eggs, poultry, and livestock. Petting farms are not only for student field trips, families like them because they provide a more interactive experience for their children. Some businesses use them as an opportunity to hold building events. Customers who pay the entry fee expect an educational experience, so have them engage with the animals while being supervised by your staff. Fruit picking farms. Fruit picking is a popular weekend activity for families, and small farms have found this to be a lucrative venture. Most entrepreneurial farmers who consider offering fruit picking have had a running farm for some time and are looking to expand their income method. These are also hobbyists who are interested in starting from scratch, but they are more focused on generating income from the tourism aspect of the farm. One advantage of picking your own farm model is that you're able to hire fewer people to harvest your product, which reduces overhead cost. Additionally, buyers come to you, so you also reduce the cost of transporting your product. Bottom line, agriculture remains to be a crucial industry in Africa and is recognized to be one of the largest producers, customers, and exporters of agricultural products in the world. With the human population expected to grow to 9.7 billion by 2050, there will be definitely more demand for farmers in the future. So you're in a high demand area. Spiritual growth is happening too. And farming, by the way, becomes God. Jesus used a lot of his parables were about farming, or from farming examples. And fishermen became the example for fishing for men. And farming can be also how a plant grows is how human being grows as well. And human beings need to have their roots and need to have a strong, stable foundation in their relationship with God, and they grow strong to the sky as they grow taller and taller in their faith and grow. And I think those types of things help us to connect farming concepts to spiritual concepts so that we as pastors can do a better job of equipping people and helping them to mature and grow in their faith. So I hope this has blessed you, and you have a great, blessed week, and continue to do your best in providing for your family. God bless you greatly. Bye-bye.